The grand chamber of the Galactic Tribunal shimmered with cold light, its vaulted ceiling rippling like the surface of a lake disturbed by a sudden breeze. Hundreds of delegates from the galaxy's greatest powers gathered beneath the towering banners of their empires, each draped with symbols of conquest, trade, or influence. Yet amid this sea of pride and power, only one voice carried the faintest note of genuine unease. High on the dais sat Ambassador Katera of the Valkyrie Dominion, a towering figure whose jagged crimson exoskeleton glistened under the chamber's luminescence. Her many eyes scanned the assembly with scornful amusement, landing finally on the solitary human delegation seated near the back, their modest blue and white flags fluttering meekly. "Earth," Katara began, her voice like gravel scraping across steel, "sends a mere dozen vessels to defy the Pan-Empyrean Accord. A dozen ships. Laughable." Her words echoed through the chamber, punctuated by the raucous laughter of the Xantari, delegates whose spindly limbs twitched with excitement. "Tin cans in a storm," one of their spokesbeings barked, a series of clicking sounds underlining their mirth. Across the room, the human ambassador, a woman named Selena Grant, rose with quiet dignity. Her suit was plain, but her eyes burned with steady resolve. "Mock us if you must," she said calmly, voice steady and clear. "But know this, Earth is no fool to tread lightly into galactic affairs. We have learned, through centuries of struggle, that the smallest spark can ignite a blaze that consumes the mighty." The laughter faltered, rippling uneasily. Katara's mandibles clicked sharply, a sign of irritation. "We do not fear Earth's bravado," she said coldly. "Your fleet is a child's plaything against the legions of the Dominion. We will see your resolve tested and broken." Selena's lips pressed into a thin line. "Perhaps, but we offer a choice. Peace through respect, or war through domination. You will decide." The chamber fell into a strained silence. The Galactic Tribunal's ruling was a formality. Earth's refusal to join the Accord had already sealed its fate. The Valkyrie fleets would be dispatched to demonstrate the price of defiance. Yet beneath the polished veneer of confident contempt, a whisper of uncertainty stirred among some delegates. The human ambassador's quiet conviction unsettled even the hardiest veterans of interstellar politics. After the summit adjourned, delegates poured into the endless corridors, many eager to celebrate the impending fall of Earth. But in the quiet recesses of the tribunal's data vaults, analysts pulled reports from Earth's recent transmissions, comparing data streams that hinted at technological leaps far beyond human reputation. Back on Earth, in the vast command center beneath the scarred surface of the Mojave Desert, General Marcus Hale stood before a holomap, glowing with pinpricks of light, each representing one of the dozen ships poised in orbit. His gaze was grim but resolute. "Make no mistake," Hale told his officers. "The galaxy expects us to crumble. They believe our fleet is nothing more than a curiosity. But every system we defend, every planet we protect, starts with this fleet, and the technology they think is primitive." A young technician tapped on the console, bringing up a simulation of the weapon systems being installed on the ships. "The Apollo project is ready, sir," she said. "Our railguns can punch through shields up to 20 megatons. AI targeting has reached a precision unmatched in any known fleet." Hale nodded slowly. "They mocked us because they did not see the mind behind the metal. When the first salvo hits, we will remind them what Earth is truly capable of." In orbit, Earth's fleet drifted quietly in formation. A dozen small ships that gleamed like polished stones against the endless black. To any observer from the tribunal, they looked outmatched, outgunned, outclassed. But in their hulls thrummed the power of countless sleepless nights, secret experiments, and the indomitable will of a species that had risen from dust to stars. And, on the bridge of the flagship USS Resolve, Captain Lena Voss stared at the silent void ahead, fingers poised above the fire controls. She thought of the ambassador's words, and the countless generations who had dared to dream that humanity might one day stand tall among the stars. "They mocked us," she whispered, voice firm as steel. "But we will show them. when the first salvo hits. Deep beneath the Mojave's scorched earth, in a labyrinth of tunnels humming with electricity and guarded by more security than many planetary capitals, the heart of Earth's secret weaponry pulsed with quiet intensity. The Apollo project was no mere retrofit. It was the culmination of decades of work, research stolen from shadows, reverse-engineered from forgotten relics, and fueled by humanity's relentless drive to survive. Dr. Evelyn Tran wiped the sweat from her brow as she stood before a bank of shimmering energy cells, their hum a steady heartbeat in the cavernous lab. Around her, engineers and technicians worked feverishly, their faces drawn but resolute. "The railguns are calibrated to the highest tolerances ever attempted," she said, voice taut with pride and exhaustion. "These tungsten rods will pierce any shield the galaxy has. At near relativistic speeds, their kinetic energy alone will vaporize hulls before countermeasures even activate." A young engineer glanced up from a console. "And the AI targeting? Are we confident it will handle the swarm tactics the Dominion might throw at us?" Evelyn smiled thinly. "More than confident. Our AI isn't just reactive, it's predictive. It learns from each shot fired, adapting faster than any organic mind could. The enemy's best chance is to never let us get a clean shot." The room buzzed with nervous excitement. For years, Earth's military scientists had kept these advancements hidden, buried beneath layers of bureaucratic smoke and galactic skepticism. To the rest of the universe, Earth was an emerging backwater, a quaint oddity with outdated ships and laughable defenses. But the truth was far more dangerous. In orbit above, the dozen ships of Earth's small fleet were no ordinary vessels either. Sleek and deceptively modest, they housed propulsion systems that could maneuver with an agility far beyond their size, cloaking technology that could hide them from long-range sensors, and communication systems encrypted with quantum keys beyond interception. General Marcus Hale reviewed the latest reports from the fleet commanders. "We've managed to keep our position undetected until now," he said. "The Valkyrie won't expect the precision or the speed of our attack. Their arrogance blinds them." He tapped a button and the room dimmed as a holographic image of the USS Resolve shimmered into life. The ship's hull was a patchwork of experimental alloys and armored plating, layered to absorb the punishing strikes of plasma beams and missile salvos alike. Captain Lena Voss appeared on the holoscreen, her image sharp and steady. "General, the fleet is in position. Crew readiness is at 100%, awaiting final orders." Hale nodded. "This is the moment we've prepared for. The galaxy laughs at us, calls us fools. They don't know what we've built beneath their noses." Far from Earth, in the shadows of the Valkyrie War Council chambers, Admiral Zoran sat with his fingers steepled, studying the intelligence reports with growing frustration. His face was etched with the arrogance of a conqueror, but even he couldn't ignore the anomalies. "Human technology is advancing faster than our scouts anticipated," one of his officers admitted quietly. "Their fleet size is small, but their capabilities unprecedented." Zoran's eyes narrowed. "Then we will crush them all the faster." Back on Earth, the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place as the last warheads were loaded, the energy capacitors charged to critical mass. The countdown to engagement was a silent drumbeat echoing through every ship, every mind. In a quiet moment before battle, Captain Voss stood on the bridge of the Resolve, gazing out at the stars. She thought of the generations who had dreamed of reaching the stars, dreams ridiculed as naive fantasies. But those dreams had forged weapons. Those dreams had built ships, and those dreams now carried the hopes of a planet. "Remember this," she whispered. "We don't fight because we want war. We fight because we will never be enslaved." The ships powered up, their hulls glowing faintly as energy coursed through their veins. Silent and unyielding, the small fleet prepared to face an enemy that thought them insignificant. Yet, beneath, the cold steel and blazing weaponry, the spirit of humanity burned brighter than any star. When the first salvo was fired, it would echo through the galaxy, not as the cry of defeat, but as the roar of an underdog who refused to be silenced. The blackness of space around Sol was suddenly rent by the arrival of giants. Massive warships the size of small moons, glided into orbit with deliberate, brutal grace. Their hulls gleamed with the cold fury of the Valkyrie Dominion, an ancient empire whose conquests had stretched across hundreds of star systems. Hundreds of smaller escort vessels flanked the behemoths, forming a wall of destruction that dwarfed Earth's modest fleet. Admiral Zeran stood on the bridge of his flagship, Dominion's Wrath, a living fortress of weaponry and command. His many eyes scanned the view screen as Earth's dozen ships held formation below, small but unyielding. They call this a fleet? Zeran's voice was a low growl, echoing through the bridge. They're a pestilence masquerading as warriors. Soon we will snuff out their spark and remind the galaxy why the Dominion rules. His officers exchanged uneasy glances. Though the fleet was overwhelming, the humans' reputation for unpredictable resilience was whispered across battlefields. Still, none dared challenge the admiral. Prepare to broadcast surrender demands, Zeran ordered. Let them know, mercy can be had, but only if they lay down their weapons and submit. Back on Earth's flagship USS Resolve, Captain Lena Voss listened to the cold, imperious broadcast crackle over the comm channels. This is Admiral Zeran of the Valkyrie Dominion. Surrender now, and we may spare your worlds the humiliation of destruction. Resist and you will be annihilated. Voss met the eyes of her officers. Not one wavered. Open comms channel, she commanded. Her voice was steady, unwavering. She stepped forward, voice calm but resolute. Admiral Zeran, Earth will never surrender. We fight not because we seek conquest, but because we value freedom and sovereignty. Your threats only strengthen our resolve. The silence that followed was heavier than any cannon fire. Very well, Zeran snarled. Prepare for battle. Sensors across the Resolve flickered as the Valkyrie fleet shifted into combat formation. Giant plasma cannons hummed. Missile racks rotated into place and electronic warfare suites sparked to life. But Earth's ships held fast, unblinking, their crews knowing that they had but one chance to shatter the expectations of the galaxy. The Bridge of Resolve, Captain Voss gave the final order. All hands prepare weapon systems. Awaiting my mark. General Hale's voice came over the comm, calm and commanding. Remember, this isn't just about survival. This is about proving that humanity is not a footnote in galactic history. Seconds stretched taut, every heartbeat a drum. And then, without warning, the small fleet unleashed their first salvo. Unlike the usual blinding streaks of laser fire or the thunder of missile volleys, Earth's weapons fired hyperdense tungsten rods, silent killers accelerated to near-light speed by electromagnetic railguns. The bolts tore through the void, invisible until impact. The lead Valkyrie dreadnought, Dominion's Wrath, was the first target. The rod slammed into its hull, breaching the outer armor and detonating its power core in a massive explosion that sent shockwaves rippling through the fleet. On every screen in the Valkyrie flagship, the scene replayed in horrifying slow motion. The giant ship tearing itself apart from the inside out. Chaos erupted. The Valkyrie scrambled to respond, their advanced shields flickering and failing. Earth's AI targeting systems predicted their evasive maneuvers, guiding every projectile with deadly precision. Chain reactions spread. Ships exploded, their debris tearing through nearby vessels. Admiral Zeran bellowed orders, but his fleet was caught off guard by the ferocity and precision of the attack. Focus fire! Concentrate on the Resolve, he roared, desperate to stem the tide. But the Earth fleet was already slipping between salvos, their maneuvering thrusters flaring in bursts, making them harder targets. Captain Voss's voice was calm amidst the storm. Maintain formation. Keep firing. As the small fleet continued to dismantle the Valkyrie armada piece by piece, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The empire that once mocked Earth now faced a force they had grossly underestimated, and the battle for Sol had only just begun. The void around Sol transformed into a deadly ballet of destruction and precision. The Valkyrie fleet, once bristling with confident menace, now reeled beneath the unexpected ferocity of Earth's attack. The silence of space was broken by the shattering roar of ruptured hulls, cascading explosions, and the eerie hum of automated defenses futilely scrambling against an enemy no one had believed capable of such devastation. On board the USS Resolve, Captain Lena Voss stood unwavering before the main tactical console, eyes scanning the cascading data streams. The enemy was large, but their size was their weakness. Weapons firing solution optimal, reported Lieutenant Rajan, the fleet's AI liaison. Targeting vectors confirmed. Railgun systems operating at 105% efficiency. Voss nodded, voice calm but commanding. Focus on the flagship and command vessels. Take down their leadership. Moments later, the first kinetic rods tore through the void with devastating effect. Traveling at near light speeds, these silent projectiles possessed kinetic energy sufficient to cleave entire warships as if they were paper. Shields, no matter how advanced, flickered and collapsed under the onslaught. The flagship Dominions, Wrath, once a symbol of Valkyrie supremacy, was torn apart within seconds. Its massive hull ruptured from multiple strikes. Internal reactors detonated in a chain reaction, and the colossal ship broke apart in a burst of fiery debris. The Valkyrie fleet commander's many eyes widened in shock. "Impossible, Admiral," Siran hissed, his voice trembling. "Their weapons. They bypassed our shields." His officers scrambled to compensate, but the Earth fleet's precision was relentless. Automated fire control systems, augmented by quantum AI, adjusted every shot, anticipating enemy evasions and deploying projectiles with surgical accuracy. One by one, Valkyrie command ships and dreadnoughts erupted, their destruction sparking panic among their fleets. On the bridge of the Resolve, tension tightened the air like a drawn wire. Despite their overwhelming success, the human crews remained vigilant. They knew the battle was far from over. Lieutenant Rajan spoke again. "Enemy electronic countermeasures increasing. Suggest activating secondary EMP arrays." "Do it," Voss ordered. A low pulse rolled outward from Earth's ships, an electromagnetic pulse that fried Valkyrie targeting and communication arrays. Suddenly, many of the Valkyrie vessels were blind and deaf in the midst of battle. "Now's our chance." Hale's voice crackled over the comm from Earth's command center. "Push the advantage. No mercy." The small fleet surged forward, weaving through debris fields with agility impossible for their massive foes. Their railguns fired continuously, sending more lethal rods into the flanks of the disorganized Valkyrie formation. A Valkyrie cruiser tried to rally its forces, broadcasting a furious call for retreat, but the message was lost in the chaos. "Shields down on Cruiser 7 Alpha," Rajan reported. "Hull integrity critical." "Target locked," Voss replied. "Fire." Another rod smashed into the cruiser's hull, ripping it apart and sending its remnants spiraling into the dark. The galaxy beyond watched in stunned silence as transmissions from the Valkyrie command were shattered, replaced by images of their fleet unraveling under a storm of silent death. Back on Earth, civilians across continents gathered in front of screens, watching live feeds of the battle. The tension in the air was electric, mingling fear with an unspoken hope. "This is the moment," said President Amina Carter in a broadcast to the planet. "We stand not just for Earth, but for every world that cherishes freedom. They mocked our small fleet, but it is our spirit, not our size, that will decide the future." In the depths of the Valkyrie command hub, cracks began to form, not just in the physical hulls of their ships, but within their resolve. Reports of mutinies and desertions surfaced as many questioned their leadership's competence. Amid the exploding wreckage, the words of Ambassador Selena Grant echoed through the memory banks of every Terran soldier. "The smallest spark can ignite a blaze that consumes the mighty," and with the first salvo's devastating impact, that blaze had been lit. Captain Voss turned to her officers, voice low but resolute. "Hold formation. Stay sharp. The galaxy has finally woken up to Earth's power." The battle for survival had become a battle for respect. The aftermath of the battle rippled through the galaxy like a seismic shockwave. News of the Valkyrie flagship's destruction and the stunning resilience of Earth's fleet spread at faster than light speed, carried by frantic transmissions, intercepted communiques, and whispered rumors in the dark corners of countless star systems. The great empires and coalitions that had long regarded Earth as a backwater now scrambled to recalibrate their calculations. In Iowim, the sprawling capital of the Solari Federation, diplomats and military commanders watched the live feeds with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Emperor Calrex, a man known for his cold pragmatism, leaned heavily on his ornate staff, eyes narrowing. They thought Earth was weak, he muttered. Now the galaxy must learn otherwise. In a dimly lit chamber far from the center of power, a council of mercantile clans debated the implications. Trade routes will be disrupted if the Valkyrie retaliate, warned Lord Savar, a wiry reptilian, with sharp claws tapping anxiously on the table. We must hedge our bets. Or, countered a sharp-eyed human envoy, we must consider alliances with Earth. Their technology changes everything. But on the front lines, the shock was most profound within the Valkyrie dominion itself. Admiral Zaran's once commanding voice was now fractured with fury and disbelief. The destruction of their flagship had not only devastated their fleet's operational capacity, but shattered the Empire's aura of invincibility. Reports poured in of mutinies in distant sectors, and commanders openly questioning the Valkyrie High Council's judgment. Earth's fleet is small, one dissenting voice insisted during a council meeting. But their weapons and tactics are unlike anything we have faced. We risk losing more than pride if we continue to underestimate them. Yet others called for a swift and brutal retaliation to reassert dominance. The Valkyrie Emperor, a figure draped in shadow and legend, remained silent for days, his advisors divided and desperate. Back on Earth, the mood was cautiously jubilant. The global broadcast from President Amina Carter had galvanized the population. Tonight, she said, we celebrate not just a military victory, but the dawn of a new era. The galaxy will know that Earth's voice is not to be dismissed. But, beneath the celebrations, Earth's leaders were keenly aware that this was merely the opening act. In the war room beneath the Mojave Desert, General Marcus Hale paced, eyes fixed on the holomap as new Valkyrie fleets began to mobilize. They'll come back, he warned his officers. Stronger, angrier, and with everything to prove. Captain Lena Voss stood beside him, her expression steeled by resolve. They think this is the end, she said. But we know it's only the beginning. Earth's fleet has shown what we can do with cunning and courage. Now we must prepare for a war unlike any before. Their scientists and engineers doubled their efforts, refining weapon systems and integrating captured Valkyrie technology. Meanwhile, on diplomatic fronts, Earth's ambassadors reached out to other galactic powers. Some were intrigued, others wary, but all recognized the shifting balance. The message was clear. Earth had arrived. As political alliances reshaped and old rivalries smoldered anew, the galaxy found itself at a crossroads. Would they unite in the Yao, face of a rising new power, or would fear and suspicion ignite further conflict? Amid the stars, the small Earth fleet remained vigilant, a silent sentinel against the gathering storm. And far beyond known space, unknown eyes watched the unfolding drama with interest. For in the vast expanse of the cosmos, every ripple in the galactic tide heralded new challenges and new opportunities for those bold enough to seize them. The galaxy was still reeling from the shock of Earth's unexpected triumph when a new chapter began, not on the battlefields, but in the intricate dance of diplomacy. In the towering glass spires of the Galactic Assembly, ambassadors gathered, in a fragile, uneasy peace. The once dismissive sneers directed at Earth had been replaced by guarded curiosity, thinly veiled suspicion, and, for some, a grudging respect. Ambassador Selena Grant sat in the grand chamber, her posture unyielding, despite the storm of whispered conversations swirling around her. The memories of the battle, the first salvo that shattered the Valkyrie's pride, burned quietly in her mind. The Assembly's chair, an elder from the Rinari Collective, called the session to order. Today, we must confront a new reality, he intoned, voice echoing through the chamber. Earth has proven its might and its resolve. It is no longer a question of if but how we engage with this rising power. Delegates from powerful empires leaned forward, eyes sharp. Some viewed Earth as a potential ally in a fracturing galaxy. Others feared the disruption their ascent represented. Lord Savar, the mercantile clan leader, rose to speak. Trade and security depend on stability. Earth's fleet has upset the balance. We must seek assurances or risk chaos. A representative from the Solari Federation, Ambassador Rylus, nodded solemnly. Their technology cannot be ignored. We must consider cooperation or at least containment. Selena stood, voice steady and clear. Earth does not seek war for conquest. We fight for survival and sovereignty. We extend an offer of dialogue, to build bridges rather than burn them. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some delegates looked skeptical, others intrigued. Meanwhile, back on Earth, President Amina Carter convened her own council of advisors. The world's eyes were upon them, waiting for leadership in this pivotal moment. We've shattered their myth of invincibility, Carter said, but now comes the harder test. Diplomacy will be our shield as much as our weapons. General Hale was less optimistic. The Valkyrie won't accept defeat easily. They'll strike back, and soon. Our fleet must be ready. In the corridors of power, Earth's envoys worked tirelessly to forge alliances and gather intelligence. Some races were eager to support Earth's emergence as a counterbalance to the old empires. Others remained wary of this unexpected player with unknown ambitions. In a shadowed room on a distant space station, a secret meeting took place. Representatives from several covert factions whispered urgently. The Earth fleet's victory was not an accident, said a figure cloaked in darkness. They've been preparing for this moment for years. It's time we consider our own moves. Plans were set in motion, espionage, sabotage, and subtle manipulations, as the galaxy's undercurrents shifted beneath the surface of diplomacy. On board. The USS Resolve, Captain Voss reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Diplomatic progress is fragile, she said. We can't lower our guard. Lieutenant Rajan's AI synthesized data streams from across the galaxy. Unusual activity, detected in Valkyrie border systems. Possible fleet movements consistent with covert operations. Voss clenched her jaw. We prepare for war and peace simultaneously. Earth's future depends on both. As the Galactic Assembly debated and the covert shadows deepened, Earth stood at the nexus of two worlds, one of cautious diplomacy and one of looming conflict. The first salvo had shattered the stars. Now it was up to humanity to navigate the treacherous path ahead. Despite the fragile diplomacy unfolding in the Galactic Assembly, the reality on the ground, or rather in the cold void of space, was far less forgiving. Earth's small fleet, though victorious in the initial clash, knew well that their reprieve was only temporary. The Valkyrie, humiliated but unbroken, were regrouping, and the other galactic powers watched with equal parts curiosity and apprehension. Captain Lena Voss paced the bridge of the USS Resolve, her jaw set tight. The air was thick with anticipation, and the quiet hum of systems on high alert. Lieutenant Rajan's AI alert chimed sharply. Incoming transmission encrypted and routed through multiple relays. Origin unknown. Voss nodded. Patch it through. The flickering image of a grizzled man appeared, Commander Jarek Malkov, a veteran of Earth's clandestine intelligence fleet. Captain, his voice was low and urgent. Intel confirms the Valkyrie are amassing at the Taurus Rift. It's a trap. Voss's eyes narrowed. How many ships? 50 dreadnoughts plus hundreds of escorts. They're baiting us. General Hale's voice crackled over the comm. Then we do what we do best. Use their arrogance against them. The Resolve's crew readied weapons and maneuvering thrusters. They knew the Valkyrie strategy. Overwhelm with numbers, crush with firepower. But Earth's fleet had one advantage, agility, and a refusal to surrender. As the Resolve and its sister ship slipped through the asteroid belts of the Taurus Rift, tension ran high. Every sensor ping was scrutinized, every shadow scanned. Suddenly the silence broke. Valkyrie warships emerged from hidden nebulae, their hulls bristling with weapons, their engines humming with lethal promise. The trap was sprung. Voss's voice was steady but firm. All hands battle stations. Engage evasive maneuvers. Prioritize defense and counterstrike. The resolve twisted and turned through the star-studded battlefield, railguns blazing, missiles streaking in coordinated salvos. The Valkyrie fleet advanced with brutal efficiency, their plasma beams cutting through space like blades of light. But Earth's ships, smaller and more nimble, danced between volleys, firing back with lethal precision. The AI targeting systems learned with every engagement, adapting to enemy tactics, exploiting weaknesses in the Valkyrie formation. Despite being outnumbered, Earth's fleet struck with surgical effectiveness. Valkyrie dreadnought erupted in a fiery explosion, sending debris cascading into the void. Good hit, Voss acknowledged. Keep pressing. But the Valkyrie commanders were not without cunning. They deployed swarms of autonomous drones, tiny, agile, and deadly, designed to overwhelm sensors and disrupt targeting. Drones inbound, warned Lieutenant Rajan, switching to point defense lasers. The battle became a furious melee of laser fire, missile barrages, and desperate maneuvers. On the resolve, every officer worked with relentless focus, the weight of humanity's future pressing down upon them. Hours passed like minutes as the combat raged. At one critical moment, a missile salvo targeted the resolve's engines. Impact in 3 seconds, reported the engineering officer. Shields at 40%. Voss gave a sharp order. Divert all power to aft shields, prepare emergency thrusters. The ship shuddered violently as the missiles struck, but the shields held, buying precious seconds. Outside, the battle continued to twist and turn, a deadly dance of strategy, technology, and willpower. Then a sudden flash illuminated the void. A secondary salvo from Earth's fleet hit the Valkyrie command cruiser, crippling its command arrays and plunging their forces into disarray. Sensing the shift, Voss seized the moment. Full salvo on their flagship. Now! The railguns fired again, the hypervelocity rods tearing through the enemy ship's hull with devastating force. The command cruiser exploded in a burst of fire and metal. With their leadership shattered, and their formations breaking apart, the Valkyrie fleet faltered. Retreat, came the shouted order from the remaining Valkyrie captains. The small Earth fleet pressed their advantage, but Captain Voss knew better than to pursue recklessly. Hold position. Maintain defenses. We've won this battle, but the war isn't over. As the Valkyrie ships fled into the darkness, the Resolve and its companions regrouped, battered but unbroken. Back on Earth, celebrations were tempered by caution. General Hale addressed the global broadcast. We have proven that Earth can stand against the mightiest, but vigilance remains our greatest weapon. Captain Voss gazed at the stars from the bridge, thoughts heavy but hopeful. The first salvo had shattered expectations. The second had shattered arrogance. Now, humanity stood at the edge of war, and on the cusp of becoming a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. The void was silent once more, but the silence was heavy, charged with the weight of a future forever changed. Earth's small fleet drifted among the stars near the Taurus Rift, battle-scarred but undefeated. Captain Lena Voss stood on the bridge of the USS Resolve, gazing at the scattered constellations beyond the reinforced viewport. The victories were hard-won, the losses real, yet the spirit of humanity burned brighter than ever. General Marcus, Hale's voice echoed across the ship's calm but resolute. The Valkyrie have retreated, their forces broken and leadership shattered. For now, the threat is contained. But both he and Voss knew the galaxy would not remain quiet for long. Earth's defiance had sent shockwaves through every star system, hope for some, fear for many. Back on Earth, President Amina Carter addressed the planet and the wider galactic community in a historic broadcast. We stand today not just as survivors, but as pioneers of a new era, she declared, her voice steady and proud. Our fleet, though small, has shown that courage, ingenuity, and unity can overcome even the greatest odds. Her words resonated far beyond Earth's blue skies, sparking a new confidence among humanity and awakening curiosity, respect, and cautious hope across the stars. In the Galactic Assembly, Ambassador Selena Grant prepared for the next phase, not of war, but of diplomacy and alliance building. Earth was no longer a mere footnote in galactic affairs. It had become a beacon. But as the celebration swelled, so too did the understanding that vigilance was essential. The Valkyrie dominion, though humbled, was still vast and cunning. Other powers, once indifferent, now recalculated their strategies, weighing the benefits of alliance or the risks of enmity. Captain Voss met with General Hale on the deck of the Resolve. "We've made a statement," she said quietly. "But the galaxy is watching. Our next moves will define not just our survival, but the kind of power we want to become." Hale nodded. "Strength tempered by wisdom. That must be our guide." Meanwhile, Earth's scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, salvaging technology from the battlefield and integrating alien innovations with human ingenuity. The fleet's capabilities were evolving rapidly, preparing for whatever challenges awaited. Yet amidst the forward march, a new discovery loomed. A mysterious signal had been detected emanating from a distant, uncharted system. Unlike any known transmission, it pulsed with a complex code that hinted at an intelligence both ancient and advanced. Lieutenant Rajan analyzed the signal, fascination evident in his synthetic voice. This could change everything. It might be a call, a warning, or an invitation. Captain Voss regarded the screen thoughtfully. "We've won battles, but the true test may lie ahead, in the unknown." The first salvo had shattered the Valkyrie's arrogance. The second had shattered the galaxy's complacency. Now, as Earth stepped into its place among the stars, it faced a universe wide awake, filled with dangers and possibilities beyond imagination. The dawn of a new era was not just a turning point for humanity, but the beginning of a story that would echo across the cosmos for millennia, and at its heart stood a small fleet from a small world, a fleet that refused to be mocked, a fleet that fired the first salvo and changed everything. Captain Lena Voss smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the endless stars. "This is only the beginning,"